podcast was Your Own Backyard. Your Own Backyard is a podcast that came out, I believe, in 2020. And I recommend
2019, I think.
2019?
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine. Fact check me now.
Nice. Yeah.
Rather than somebody fact check me later. But 2019, a podcast called Your Own Backyard came out by a guy named Chris Lambert, who's in the Arroyo Grande area, I believe, AG, which you call the AG area because you're more local to that area.
5 points or something like 5 cities. 5 cities.
5 cities. And it's about a local girl from Stockton. So we're probably, 20 miles away from Stockton.
Yes.
She, in 1996, I believe, fact check me as we go. She leaves Stockton. She graduates Lincoln High School. She goes to Cal Poly in 1996. She's 18 years old. She's finishing her freshman year. She lives in the dorms. And on May 25th, I believe, she goes missing. And there's only 3 people. Let me pull the paperwork up. There's only 3 people that last saw her. Tim Davis, Cheryl Anderson, and a man named Paul Flores. Paul Flores is the only one out of the 3 whose story doesn't jive with what's going on.
He's told several different stories within that story. Like he doesn't keep his story straight.
He was the last one too to see her. Right?
He apparently was the last one. If you listen to the podcast, there was an exchange student from Australia, I believe.
Yes.
He was riding his bike, coming back from studying at like 2 o'clock in the morning, looked off to his side while he was riding his bicycle into a well-lit lobby of not the barracks, but the dormitory. And there was a girl struggling with a shorter guy. So that's newer evidence that popped up that Chris Lambert found. Mm-hmm. But the last 3 people that saw her, the other 2, Tim Davis and Cheryl Anderson, their stories kind of match up. They left her last seen with Paul Flores. Paul Flores' story has holes all through it, from beginning to end. In fact, coincidentally, when he was to go show up for a DUI charge to get his mugshot taken, 2 days after her disappearance, he had a black eye and defensive scratch marks on the back of his hand.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Boo. I also read a story that he was caught by a girl on her balcony a couple weeks before. I don't know if you heard this story. And she called the cops because he wouldn't leave. It was 1 a.m.
Yes.
And she had he locked on the balcony outside of her dormitory, but he was out there trying, I don't know who, you can only imagine what horrible things he's thinking, but he then bailed out as soon as the cops showed up and escaped.
Yes. Yes, that is true. That comes out in the podcast. And that girl also at her dorm room, she was getting her voicemails filled frequently because he kept calling, listening to the voicemail, and would leave nothing and just fill it. That was back in the day when it used to just be a tape, a cassette tape. And they would fill it up with the minutes, and somehow it came back to him. I'm not sure how that all worked out, but
they could tell who he was calling, like from their phone records.
From the room. Mm-hmm. So there's so many holes in it. And just recently, as of March 15, which was last Monday, and March 16th, which was last Tuesday, they went into Paul Flores' father, Ruben Flores' house with a search warrant and brought cadaver dogs, brought forensic units, and also ground penetrating radar, which they searched the house once, I believe in 1997, but they did not bring, or 1996, right after, but they did not bring any of that. What they were looking for was evidence like her clothes, maybe
a school ID, so,
her key, stuff like that. But they did not bring anything to search out blood or these special cadaver dogs. These cadaver dogs, they specialize in smelling out human rotting remains or something like that. And they can, in seconds, smell it out. So they brought the cadaver dogs. Cadaver dogs, this past week, smelled out 2 spots where they brought in cadaver dogs at separate times, and they all hit on the same spots. 2 different spots. One It was underneath the deck in the dirt underneath the deck, which the door was locked. There was lattice. It's one of those hilly terrains, and there was a deck out in the backyard, and underneath the deck was dirt and lattice covering it. And the cadaver dogs sniffed out that area. I believe 3 different cadaver dogs, if I'm not mistaken. I watched Chris Lambert's live video on Instagram. Anyways, they smelled out that. So forensic units.
Shout out to Instagram.
Forensic units dug up that area. They dug up underneath the avocado tree. But the cadaver dogs also hit on, what's her name? I got it written down here. Irma Linda, his sister, Linda Flores, her Volkswagen Cabriolet.
Like a rabbit from back in the day. Back in.
Yeah.
They happened to save it in the garage.
Because did you happen to see the interview that the mother did?
Susan.
The next day, Susan?
That was weird. And
she was
creepy.
like, I was keeping that, so I was going to fix it up.
And remodel it.
Why would you, first off, why is it at your ex-husband's house if you're going to remodel it?
Yeah.
Y'all aren't together.
Right.
You guys are both married. Weird. But yeah, this was in the garage covered up, and you've kept it this whole time?
Yes. And they kept driving by, waving.
Oh, they're so weird.
Susan and Ruben Flores.
I was reading something about that, and the boyfriend was driving by.
Yes,
they were driving by while they were there, waving.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, weird.
Very odd.
Creepers.
Yeah.
And she's never spoke all of these years, and then all of a sudden she wants to get out and have an interview on.
Get some attention, huh?
On TV.
Yeah, it's a weird, creepy little setup.
It is kind of interesting how it pops up, though. I mean, it has been several years, so maybe she's looking for a little fame out of nowhere.
Well, she said she's going to write a book.
She's already famous. I mean, her house, like, there was a Facebook group that wanted to, everyone was on this group said, if we each pitch in $5, we can purchase the house next door and make it a huge Kristin memorial, just to help, like, make her feel bad. First off, I don't think she knew until way after the fact. I'm not going to lie. Just from listening to all these things, like things that stuck out to me in the podcast were the watch that kept going off when they had rented out the house.
Yes.
And a watch kept going off at the same time that she would have to get up, Kristin,
Yes.
to go be a swim
lifeguard. Yeah.
And it kept going off in that backyard. And there's a planter that was pretty new that was put in.
Coincidentally, what Sheree is talking about is
that ghost creepy, man.
Like probably a month after her disappearance, they rented out the house to strangers.
Yeah, to 2 people
and they kept getting this mail saying, "Hey, tell your son that he needs to come clean." It would help the Smart family and it would help you guys. Mm-hmm. And so this lady that's renting the house, she's like collecting this mail, like, what is going on? I'm getting all this mail and blah, blah, blah. In the meantime, there's some weird things that are happening. She found that earring
out front
with the kind of a bloody smudge mark on the back of it. And then she also had, like what you were saying,
the watch.
The watch was like a watch alarm that was going off every morning at 4:30, and she had to be at work as a lifeguard at 5 a.m. So you would set your alarm, whatever time, half an hour, 45 minutes. So that's what you're hitting on. And then the watch alarm stopped beeping after 2 months or something, once the battery must have died.
Yeah. And
they just happened to be doing concrete work in their backyard 2 days after.
It's just, there's so many things that just don't add up.
No.
And I think the dad helped with a lot of it. Ruben.
That might be why Susan is able to just claim her innocence, because maybe Ruben and Paul didn't fill Susan in on all the stuff.
I don't think they did, because she asked him something that stuck out she said, "What happened to your face?" And he was like, and the dad's like, "Oh, he was messing with his stereo."
Yeah.
Taking his stereo out of the car.
Definitely in on it.
And then he told the police that he was playing a basketball game with some buddies and got elbowed.
Burn.
Ooh.
There's so many holes.
And then the other guy that went to go play basketball with him asked him about why he had a black eye before the basketball game. And he said he just woke up with a black eye. Yeah. So he told 3 different stories. He woke up with it. He got it at a basketball game.
Stereo.
And he told the police department that he got it from pulling his stereo out of his truck.
And he said, "Why'd you lie about that?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know, just something you can easily mix up."
A white lie. That's what,
Was
remember
that
he
what he
said?
said? A white lie?
He's like, it was a simple white lie or something like that. But yeah,
But
why
hey,
would you lie about that?
That's weird.
Why would you not just tell the truth? If you're bringing me into a police department and I'm getting questioned and I'm innocent and I have a black eye, I'm going to tell you the real freaking story. I'm going to tell you the people that were with me that I got the black eye from or how I did it, whatever it happened to be.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be from pulling your stereo out and hitting your steering wheel with your eyeball. Yeah. It doesn't happen. Nobody's ever gotten a black eye.
That's how he scratched his ham too.
Right.
Got me.
I was rubbing a redwood fence with the back of my hands. No, you don't. It doesn't happen like that. It's not the way it works.
I plead the fifth.
That was weird.
I plead the fifth. Like the detective would answer. It was like during a deposition live. They recorded it. They'd ask him a question and he'd look over and read exactly what his lawyer wrote. And it was just like, come on, like just answer questions. Like you're not answering because you don't know how to keep your story straight.
Well, these
100%.
were even questions that were not even like related to the thing, right? So it was like, what's your mom's name? By the regards of the attorney's advice, I plead the Fifth Amendment, blah, blah, blah. And he said it 27 times or something crazy. Like, you can at least say who your mom is, what's your mom's name, what's your dad's name, where your address is, whatever. He pleads the fifth every single question.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, I didn't know. Why don't more people do that? Right?
Because they get irritated after a while of all the questioning. I don't know.
But what's cool about it is March 15th, when they were doing the investigation, he was a suspect to the, what was it? I wrote it down here. He went from the suspect, where was it?
To the primary suspect?
Okay, so he went from
Person of interest.
Person of interest to prime suspect. Thank you, Shri.
Yes.
Person of interest to prime suspect, which means
they
had enough evidence to bring him to that, which means, this is me with my Sherlock Holmes hat on, you don't get a search warrant for no reason.
Not unless you owe a judge or judge owes you big time.
Just saying. You
and
don't,
after all these years?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly.
And if it turns up that there's like hardcore blood evidence in that Volkswagen,
right?
That's been sitting there for this whole time.
Because his sister,
I shouldn't laugh, but like seriously, if you should have got rid of that thing.
Oh.
His sister lived like right down the street from the college.
Less than 1,000 yards away. I believe.
At the time. So if he did kill her, he'd probably go to the nearest car, right, to get her body.
Yes.
To get rid of it.
Yes. Burn him, man. Wow.
There's so many things that are curious about this whole thing. And if it wasn't for Chris Lambert, the dude that wrote this podcast, created this podcast, none of this stuff would be happening. None of this stuff would. The local sheriff in San Luis Obispo, he would have never, because he just recently hired somebody only to research cold cases. That would have never happened. None of this stuff would have been brought light to. And
I really like his voice too. Like he tells the story so well. You feel like you're there with him and like you're picturing what's happening. Like he's so good at describing everything. I don't know. I feel like I lack in that area.
I gotta listen to this podcast.
You should. I mean, his voice is, I don't know. I didn't picture him when I saw him. He didn't go with his voice.
No.
But great guy. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine. First off, I can't imagine the parents sitting here wondering all these years what happened. Like they have no closure whatsoever. And I can't imagine being Paul either, because he's like living in, like, why not just be honest? Like you've lived all these years, and have you lived your life to the fullest?
Doesn't care. Come on.
Think about all the weight that would come off of his shoulders. If he would just like come clean and be like, hey dude, okay, you know what? I can't take it anymore. Here's where I buried her. Here's where she's buried.
Right?
I'm going to take you over there, but here's the deal.
What if they find a different body? What if it's not? What if there's more women?
It's a
out
mass
there? Yeah. What
grave.
If this guy's like a freak? He's been out there for how many years?
Maybe.
You can't imagine it. He was like 1996. This is cool. I'm done. And he moves down to that's amazing. That's really intriguing that you say that, because
he has a track record of being creepy with other chicks.
At jobs.
Right. He got in the police call, and that was weeks earlier, and he didn't get deterred. He ran away.
But
And
girls that he worked with,
Yeah.
he was touching them funny. They were walking out to their car. He would drive up, jump out, put his hand up their legs, follow them home. All kinds of weird things that
like say, I can take you out. I'll take you out. I'll make a special drink before we go.
That's weird.
I'll make sure you get home okay.
Dudes don't do that.
Well, what's the story with the mom and dad? Is there a little bit of root? Let's dig into Paul here. Paul, sit on the couch. Why are you so creepy? Is dad creepy? Did dad teach him to be this way? Did mom and dad do something weird to him?
It could have been.
Yeah.
Is there anything in the story? That's why I'm asking.
I don't know because they're both remarried, but I feel like the dad, when you hear him in this deposition, because you can hear him talk, he just sits there sometimes. Like, he knows the answer. He's trying to think of something to say. Nobody waits that long to answer.
No, they'll ask him, Hank, listen to this. They'll ask him questions because he was a GTE
Representative. He went around to phones, right?
to the phones on the payphones. So he was like a GTE guy who would service payphones. He had a route. He would go around. He would pull out the money out, blah, 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 do the whole thing, service them, right? So one of the questions that the police department asked him was, hey, what was one of the more rural R-U-R-A-L, rural areas?
Yeah.
I can't say.
I got you.
Payphones that you worked on, which is not really like a question that would like, oh, you did it because you work on that phone. No, it's just like a question. Like where was one of the more rural areas that you work on the payphone at? He would sit there quietly. Like
literally like crickets.
And then one of the other detectives like, do you understand the question that we're asking you?
He was like, no,
He's
yeah.
I get it. No,
Yeah.
I get it. And then crickets again. And then he goes, I guess I don't understand the question. Like, you freaking dumbass. Like,
No, just like
I want to reach through my phone, my truck, and just like strangle this freaking idiot.
yeah. The dad definitely has something to do with it. He's been trying to cover it this whole time.
100%. You don't just sell your bed liner out of your truck to buy a new bed liner, right? If you have blood stains on your bed liner, yeah, I'm going to sell the bed liner. But we all have owned pickups, I'm sure, or our families own pickups. Has any of your family ever sold the bed liner to buy a new bed liner? Hell no.
Not unless they were having that spray-in one, which weren't even created in 1996, right?
True, like whatever those are
like
called, the Line-X.
Yeah.
Line-X, which they're expensive. Yeah. But you don't sell or get rid of your bed liner to buy a new same bed liner.
So what would be your theory? He picked her up in the sister's car, took her to the house. Dad's like, put her in the truck. I don't know.
Well, here's my theory.
This one, hopefully we'll never know.
Here's my theory. And it's far-fetched because I've looked at Dennis Mahone's, I think it's Dennis Mahone's website or whatever, and he's done like a lot of research on this whole thing. My whole theory is he brought her back to his bed. He probably raped her of some sort. He kills her. He puts her in the garbage can. He pushes her out in the garbage can. He pushes her on a cart to his sister's house. Puts her in Ermelinda's car. He probably calls Ruben Flores, which is his father, because there's a report that Ruben at like 3:00 in the morning just left and dropped what he was doing, jumped out of bed, and drove away, and the mom didn't know what happened. Picked up the body, helped Paul bury her. That is my theory. And
bury her where?
Left Susan in the dark, which is Ruben's wife, buried her underneath the house or by the avocado trees.
In their backyard.
They had two houses.
At the time.
Well, they had two
because they were sleeping
houses
together, you say, right? Ruben and the wife at the time were together.
From what I understand, she knew that Paul called him at 2:00, 3:00 in the morning, and he jumped out of bed, put his clothes on with no explanation, drove somewhere, and didn't tell her what he was doing.
And so the backyard is still Ruben's backyard.
Still Ruben's backyard.
Got it.
But one of the creepy things...
Maybe she knows. Maybe that's why she moved out. Just got to throw that out there.
Well, I'm assuming that he's creepy enough to where she's like, just doesn't want to be with him anyways. So,
True.
Let alone this whole thing that's happening. I think they were already kind of having problems. They were all kind of split up, if I'm not mistaken.
To be honest, I don't know because I know they had that other house in town where she lives now, where
Off
they
of Branch
found
Street.
Yeah, where they found the earring and then the watch was there as well.
What?
Or they didn't find a watch; they heard a watch. But that guy has never moved out of his house.
And she's never moved out of her house.
No, neither
Except
of them.
for-
But yet they're harassed. Like, tell me, if you were harassed all the time, what would you do?
Get
Would
the
you-
F
would you
out of
move?
Dodge.
Would
Yeah,
you
there
not
wouldn't be a
try
lot
to
of
start
reasons not
something?
to. I mean, unless you have some sort of business ties to the community that I don't think that they have.
Unless if that was like my grandparents' house and I really loved the house and it was nostalgic and I had some sort of
you'd maybe just move out
ties.
and rent it out and never come back to town.
I
If
would
you had to
definitely
keep it
move.
too.
I'm out of state.
Yeah,
You can't find me.
like I'm
I'm
in the
gone.
woods. Like yeah.
Which is what the sister did. She moved to
She moved
Washington.
One moved to Washington. I think the other moved to Europe.
No, she moved to Europe.
Oh, later.
Same sister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Ermelinda is I think his only sister. She moved to
Quite the name.
Europe.
Irma, Linda.
It's like two first
is like
names put together.
Yeah.
Irma
Oh boy.
and Linda. You put them together. Irma, Linda.
Oh, so it's not Irma? Oh no.
And it's not Linda. No, but dude's got a track record of being creepy, like super creepy. Like dudes don't do that kind of stuff.
So is he on trial? What's the next steps on this
Well, they're
prosecution?
processing everything they found, which is funny because people are like, why have they made an announcement? Well, it's all sent to CSI. Like we have a CSI thing here in Ripon. I bet there's a couple things there. Like they send
That's
them all over
pretty
the
hot,
place.
Too. You said the 15th. That's less than a week ago.
That was last
they
Monday.
have to process. I mean, everything takes time. I think it's funny how people are like, how come we don't know what happened? Well, like, I mean, even on CSI cases, you see how detailed they get into like taking things apart. Susan, the mom, was really worried about them taking that car apart too. They're just going to take it all apart. I know it.
That
Like,
bitch.
really? Are you kidding right now? You're worried about your dumb car that's been sitting in the garage for 20 years?
High price value.
Yeah.
Right?
Really?
The suckers.
So there's some great YouTube videos too, which I was thinking like, if I lived in the same town as them and you know that they're there and you see them at the grocery store, wouldn't you say something to them? So if you YouTube it,
The guy
there's
at
like
Walmart?
dudes at Walmart like,
Yes.
hey, that's Ruben and Paul Flores. They killed Kristin Smart. Screw these
Justice
guys.
for Kristin. Justice for Kristin. And they don't even look up. They just do their self-checkout thing. They don't even move. It's like they don't even hear what the guy's screaming.
There's no way they're
And
going to
he's
get in that fight.
screaming.
No,
He's
they're not going to
screaming.
win it.
No.
No. Yeah, he's screaming, making a scene, and they're like, sir, you got to leave.
I was embarrassed for him. I really was.
Cringeworthy.
I mean, I don't know. I really do.
I'll look
I
some
really
of this
hope that they find something to like just give the parents peace.
Yeah, something.
I can't imagine.
So I've reached out to Chris Lambert. I've sent a Instagram message to him. I've yet to hear back from him, and I doubt I will,
Well, you never know.
but hopefully Instagram will connect us, YuSkool, and
Well, I bet he maybe not right away just because he's really busy. I'm sure he's doing he's doing interview. I mean, I listened to him on a station like through Instagram. I listened to him on a radio station down in San Luis. He's busy.
he just did a straight up 48 hours.
He is busy.
So I'm sure he doesn't have time for YuSkool podcast. But if you do
shout out.
find like an hour to like call in, please, Chris, we're dying to know. Instagram will connect us together. Right? Full circle?
And if you're not going to call, just know you did an excellent job. And I think that's pretty awesome that what you did to help out. And
He's probably listening to this podcast right now.
yeah.
Or email the fact checks on YuSkool at yahoo.com.
Yeah. Find us at YuSkool at yahoo.com. All right.